What's going on? Welcome to the Shorty Shack. I'm Dariel, owner of Twisted Blood Kennel. Today we're going to be talking about the history of Twisted Blood Kennel.
Yeah. Ain't nobody fly like this, nah. Can't nobody come around like this, nah. Ain't nobody getting down like this, nah. Ain't nobody fly like this, y'all. Can't nobody come around like this, y'all. Ain't nobody getting down like this, y'all.
So I got into dogs from a young boy. All my cousins and my uncles, my great uncle, my grandfather's brother, they all had game dogs, American Pit Bull Terriers. And as a young boy, my great uncle gave me my first American Pit Bull Terrier. I probably was like probably about 9 years old. And from that day, I fell in love with the American Pit Bull Terrier. I've always had mutts growing up. I grew up on a small farm. My grandfather was a goat breeder and a junkyard owner. And so we always had junkyard dogs and mutts running around. But as a young kid, that first American Pit Bull Terrier really made a strong impression on me, and I really loved them. So I've always fooled with the pit bulls. As soon as I got old enough to get my own dogs and I had my own place, I went and I started investing into some really good quality American Pit Bull Terriers. And growing up, we didn't know much about structure and bloodlines and nothing like that. I mean, my older cousins started off with some dogs that was from some Carver blood, and that's about all I knew about bloodlines, to be honest, back then. And so the older I got, the more I started getting into wanting to know about the quality of dogs that I had, and respecting having good quality dogs is when I started really investing my money and my time into learning about the dogs and investing into getting quality dogs. So my cousin had a boyfriend that was a long-term boyfriend, and me and him got really close. So me and him, we started doing research because it had been a long time. He'd been in the dog game, the game dog world, and it'd been a long time since he had game dogs. So we started trying to do some research on, who had some of the best game dogs at this time. And so we found several people, and we reached out and we purchased several dogs, and we even got tied in with some guys over in Peru, who had some really good blood. All of their dogs pretty much derived off of Patrick blood, and so we got dogs from them, and we was rocking and rolling. We had some really good quality dogs, and we was doing our thing with the game dogs. And I've been thinking for a while about what name I was going to use to brand my kennel. And so we was incorporating several different bloodlines at that time, and I just came up with Twisted Blood Kennel. We was twisting all of this blood together to make our own line, and so Twisted Blood Kennel just stuck when I thought of that name, and so I ran with it. And probably about maybe 4 or 5 years later, I ended up getting custody of my first child, and during that time, my mother was just like most people. They don't really know about the game dogs, and they have preconceived notions of what game dogs are, and everybody thinks that they mean and thinks that they're human aggressive. And anybody that knows anything about American Pit Bull Terriers, true game dogs, know that they're really not human aggressive, and they're definitely not supposed to be human aggressive. So, but to satisfy my mom, she kept complaining about me having those dogs around my son. So to keep from arguing with her and hearing her mouth all of the time, I just decided to give him a break. I got out of them. I got rid of all my dogs. And for, probably 4 or 5 months, I had no dogs. I just took that time to just, learn how to be a dad and raise my son. And so, like any dog man knows, you can't go too long without having a dog. So I started looking around trying to figure out what my next breed was going to be. Down here we have this thing called the Mule Trader. And the Mule Trader is just an advertisement where you call in and put in what you got for sale and leave your phone number and all of that, your information. And so I started looking through that, trying to find, a different breed of dog that may interest me. And everybody always had bullies, you know what I mean? Like, bullies has always been a big thing down here. People love bullies, but coming from the game dog world, I never had any interest in bullies whatsoever. I always thought that they was fat and lazy and they just didn't have a purpose. It was like, what's the point of having this dog if it don't do anything? That was just my understanding of it. I clearly was naive and ignorant, but that's what I believed at the time. And so I started looking, and as I'm looking in the Mule Trader, I find a guy that breeds Old English Bulldogs. And to be honest, at the time, just like most people, I didn't know that there was a difference between Old English Bulldogs and English Bulldogs. I honestly thought that Old English Bulldogs were English Bulldogs at that time. And so I called the guy, hit him up, and we talked for a long time, man. Me and him talked on the phone for probably an hour, hour and a half, that first conversation. And he invited me out to his place. He probably lived like 30 minutes from me at that time, from where I was living at that time. And I went out to his place, and he showed me all of his dogs, and he schooled me on what the Old English Bulldog was. You know what I mean? And me and him became very good friends. And we did a lot of business together. And I dove head over heels into the Old English Bulldog. Anybody that knows anything about me knows that when I set my mind on getting into something, my wife would probably say that I go crazy with it. Like, I spend all my energy and all my time learning and trying to enlighten myself on whatever it is that I'm into at that moment. And so I did the same with the Old English Bulldog. I spent countless hours studying them, doing research on them. I invested a whole lot of money in the Old English Bulldogs. Well, at least a whole lot of money for me. You know what I mean? And so as I was buying all of these dogs, they were cool. You know what I mean? I started to gain an acceptance for dogs that may not be the driviest. You know what I mean? I started to appreciate them for their calm demeanor that most of mine had. And, it actually was a relief from having to deal with the turned up game dogs 24/7. And so, I built the love for the Old English Bulldogs that I had, but I did run into a lot of health issues. Most of it was with their breathing, A lot of people know that they can overheat very easily. And so at the time I had a complete outdoor setup. My outdoor setup, I had covering over it, I had shade over it, and I also had a misting system set up with a timer to mist the dogs during the hottest periods of the day. And even with that misting setup and the shade, I still was losing dogs to heat exhaustion. And so that was very draining. Then I was having a lot of reproductive issues. I was having dogs that I would breed several times and they would not take. Then once I finally started getting some litters, I was losing pups. I didn't know a whole lot about incubator setups at the time. And I lost a lot of pups. I had mothers to lay on pups. I had some mothers eat pups, bite pups, and kill them. Oh man, you name it. I was losing dogs left and right. Um, and so with going through that experience of losing dogs and losing money, it became very draining, mentally and emotionally draining. As I was investing that money, the dogs wasn't paying me back. I did. I'm not, and let me make this clear. I am not one of them guys that's here trying to be a millionaire off of my dogs. That's not my goal. I just enjoy dogs. I've always loved dogs. I enjoy breeding and trying to see what I can create with the dogs that I have. And but with that being said, I would like for the dogs to at least pay for themselves. You know what I mean? And so I decided to take a step back from the Old English Bulldogs, and I sold all of the dogs I had at that time, and I still had dogs here on my property because we live on a farm, and I'm a goat breeder, and I have livestock guard dogs to protect my goat herd. So I still had those dogs, but as far as being a dog breeder, I had got rid of everything and took a step back. And so after I took that break and that time after breeding the Old English Bulldogs and getting rid of all of them, I started getting the urge to want to breed again. And now here we are. I'm a shorty bull breeder. I appreciate y'all tuning into my channel. Stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to actually go into talking about how I got into shorty bulls. So y'all be blessed, be safe, have a good day.